Hello, I am Draken and this is the Draken Gameworks and welcome to episode 3 of my Let's Play series for Minecraft. Unfortunately, over the last week, I know this series is coming out a little bit late. That's because I've had a bit of a rough week, been a little bit ill. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice a little bit. It's a little croaky. I'm on the back end of it at the moment, but hopefully well enough to be able to finish off this video. But because of that, it hasn't stopped me from playing Minecraft, and so I've done a lot of recording, but I didn't do a lot of voiceover while doing the recording. So a lot of this episode is going to be going back and looking at some of those things that I've done, and I'm just going to do a bit of commentary over the top instead this time. It's a little bit different to what I've done with some of the other previous versions that we've done in the previous episodes, but hopefully you'll get a gist of what we've done. And there's quite a lot has been done. As you can see right behind me, if you remember in episode 2, we were looking for some of the sea lanterns to be able to finish off our fountain, and we went out and found some on a live stream recently, so I've been able to finish the fountain. You can see it is right there just behind me, but that's not the only thing that I have been working on this week. Okay, so one of the other things that we've been working on in the last week is warehouses. So I came up with this little design here, inspired a bit by actually my wife, who was looking at building some warehouses for her farm that she's also built on the server. And she was looking at designs from the universe of the Elder Scrolls, and particularly Elder Scrolls Online, which is a game that we both play. And she was looking at some designs that she wanted to inspire herself for some warehouses. She called me in to give her a bit of a help with it. And I looked at it and I thought, that's a really good idea. So I ended up kind of stealing the design and putting it into my own build. So that's one of the things we've done this week. And we've also turned around and put this ship up onto blocks there. We've done a few other things around the place as well, but I want to show you some of those as we go through the stream here. But before we do that, let me take you over, as we've been talking about my wife's area, and we'll take you over to my wife's farm. Now, I'm going to do a very quick time lapse with this, but one of the things my wife asked me to do, this is actually over at her farm itself, is that she wanted me to build her an everwell. That is a way of actually having a non-stop source or a continuous unlimited supply of water in a little well at the back. But rather than just creating a 2x2 hole and doing it, what I do is I like to actually build it into an actual well design. And so that's what she asked me to quickly knock together here. So this here is just me quickly demonstrating how to put together a small well, which we're building. This is, as I say, this is on my wife's farm. She's very new to Minecraft, but this is the design that she's been working on. You can see in the background there. We showed it off slightly, I think, in the last episode, or was it in the episode before that? I think it was the last episode. We showed it off very briefly as we went past, but we did a little bit of work on her back garden there. But one of the other things we have been building this week is a bunch of boats. Now, the first boat I started building, I actually built on live stream on Twitch. That's been coming across quite nicely. We'll show that towards the end, along with a couple of the other ships that we've been building. But I thought I would try and capture as much, at least in a time lapse, of the boats that we have been building. So you can see here, we have the basic hull. I really wish I'd started recording right at the beginning when I started building the hull bit, but all of that was actually quite underwater. But the first step we needed to do was to actually remove the water out of there. And I haven't been able to get a hold of any sponges. Now, the sponges you can normally pick up from these underwater temples and everything else, and I've never really encountered a proper underwater temple, so I haven't been able to get some to actually be able to remove the water that way. So I have to go back to an old-fashioned method. So all I did here, as you can see, was just fill up the hole with dirt. Once we'd filled it up completely with dirt, that would have removed all the water source blocks, and then we were able to go back, dig it all back up, and that will then make it nice and empty in there. From there, we then built up the rest of the hull, layer by layer, stage by stage, enabling spaces, making sure that we kept spaces in there for putting in where the cannons are, making sure we put the decks in. At this stage, we weren't looking at where the masts were going to be. Now, as we're doing this, and as you can see this in the time, I just wanted to say, obviously, for those of you who watched my first episode, I did mention that the very first boats that I built, I based them off Lord Dakar's designs, and I've included some links again in below at the bottom there for you to go and check out some of his tutorials on how to build ships if you're interested in building ships. He has some brilliant designs, and the first ships I built, because I'd never built ships before, were based on his designs as well. They weren't exact matches, but they were based similar to that, and I used his tutorials as a bit of a guide. But these ones here are the ones that I have now built from scratch, having used techniques that I learned from following through on those tutorials. I've gone away and built my own designs, so these are all being built straight from scratch. I'm just designing them from the ground up. And look at this, this is as we get to the end here, we can just quickly show off where we have got to so far, and you can see this is where the ship was starting to look like once we got the hull in place. Obviously the masts aren't to go into there, aren't there just yet, but we'll build that bit next. carrying on, we started then working on the masts itself. The masts are a little bit of an art form themselves to sort of produce. Now you could just go straight up and build the mast up and build like a T section coming off there, but actually there is a design that was shown on one of Lord Dakar's tutorials actually for his 6 for 8 ship of the line, where he shows this sort of staggering of the masts, so as though like the masts have been tied together. It's a couple of logs that have been tied together, and that the actual beams going across the top are also tied onto there where the sails are latched onto. So I go with that sort of design, and then we obviously put ladders up on there as well and build the crow's nest as we go up as well. So all of it's sort of built together. I kind of got it down to a T now building these ships, how to build these masts as well at the same time. And of course, once we got these masts all done, this is what it looks like so far. So it's starting to take shape now. You can start to see the sails come into place, but there is something really vital that really makes these ships stand out properly, and that is the rigging. Now, rigging again is a bit of an art form again in itself. I use white birch fencing, these sort of nice bright fencing for it, but you could use any sort of the fencing sort of styles of doing it up here. But then you have to work out how to make them sort of staggered up. Usually the first layer going up to the first crow's nest tends to be pretty straightforward. It seems to be like this staggered step pattern that goes inwards, and then the ones above there are a little bit also a bit easier as well, because they're pretty much just straight up. But at some points you need to adjust it in so they come in slightly, or you need to put them into a sort of more step pattern. The one which I tend to fall off a lot more on, and I don't, you might probably see it a few times in the time lapse here, is when doing the ones that are going up and down at the front and across in between the masts. Those little ones there are quite tricky. You have to be sort of pillaring up on a load of dirt and get those into place as well. That gets quite difficult. Once I put the riggings in place, then it seemed like we were starting to get to a point where we really needed to put the flags up as well. So we quickly constructed those. I built those out of wool, very much a similar material as to what we use for the sails. You'll notice the sails are all in a rolled up position. I haven't actually put them as though they're fully down. That's because the ship is actually in harbour, so the sails would be rolled up. They're not, the ship's not under motion, so the sails aren't going to be down and billowing out. Instead, they're all going to be rolled up. But the flags themselves are still going to be fluttering in the wind, and that was the kind of the effect I was trying to go for, while also capturing the sort of the symbol of what I use for my nation's flag there, which is basically a green and white flag with a red diamond in the middle of it. It's supposed to be fairly similar to what is the Welsh flag, though obviously we can't put a red dragon in there. There's no dragon symbol available, so I went with a red diamond instead. After the flags were done, then we went in and put in the cannons, the stairs, and the cargo hatches. All of these were quickly put in. The cannons I made out of black concrete and then used some acacia wood steps. I also, on some of the cannons that I put around there, I do use tripwire hooks to make a look of the fuse and a couple of buttons, just to add a bit more detail. I haven't done it just yet. That will come at a later stage on this one, but it is how I normally finish the cannons off. And then, to say, we're also putting in some stairs and some cargo hatches, and didn't quite get enough iron here at the moment because I've been running really low of iron, and I'll talk about that in a second, but I've been running really low on iron, so I wasn't able to quite get all of the iron hatches on the top there, but we got most of them done. Now, the ships are nearly done, or the ship is nearly done. I haven't done the interior out there. There's all sorts of cargo to go in there, there's captain's cabin to sort out, there's the wheel, there's all sorts of things that still need to be finished off on this ship. But let's take a quick look at a view around of the ship itself as it stands at the moment. I'll probably finish this off in a future episode. We'll go in there and we'll do some more work on the interior and show off a bit more of the interior work on there. But for the time being, from the exterior, we can pretty much see what this ship is now going to look like. And yeah, I quite like this. I like where this one has gone so far. Moving away from ships, one of the other things that I've been working on was also to sort out the village breeders and to sort out where we have our iron farm. I needed to top it up with more villagers. As I mentioned a minute ago, I was running out of iron, so I really need to bring my iron farm up to full efficiency. That meant getting as many villagers as possible over to the village iron farm. And also I wanted to sort out the trade hall as well at the same time. So I got my village breeder running up, and I've been doing a little bit of shifting some of these villagers around. And I built myself a little railway, temporary railway, running around from where the village sorting hall is, or the villager sorting hall is, and taking it all the way around the fort over to the iron farm. And as I was riding around on it, I realised how much of a nice view I got from this railway system that I built. So I thought I'd show that off quickly here as we go around, and we get to see the fort as we go around. And it's kind of really inspirational, because I'm kind of thinking now, I was going to build an underground railway going through the place, but I kind of think I want to put some rails up onto like little viaducts and stuff going around the fort itself, so that you can actually get some nice views of the fort as well from around the outside. So it's something I may consider doing. I haven't decided yet about it, but I really like the view that we saw going back and forwards, as you can see here, either side. And once we got to the iron farm, obviously we had to get the villagers into the iron farm itself, so we ended up having to open ourselves up a little hole and very carefully nudging them over into the hole, as you can see here, and making sure that we didn't fall into it. First time I built a village breeder, I kept on notoriously falling into the village breeder itself and getting myself stuck. Thankfully I didn't get stuck this time, and it was all nicely sorted. Once we've done that, I thought I'd just take another chance to view the fort from the other direction while we had the railway up. I did dismantle this railway afterwards, but I thought it was just another opportunity to catch the fort from a different view. I know I did the whole walk around tour back in episode 1, and we've added a few bits since then, but this just shows you a few more bits and pieces as we're going around in here. And yeah, I think it looks nice from the view. I think I definitely have to build some sort of sky railway around here. And earlier on in the episode, I did say that I would show off some of the other ships that we have been working on. So this first one here that you see here, this is one that I've been working on stream. This is a 2-deck or 2 gun decks, dedicated gun decks on the ship. Obviously, you also got the top deck with cannons. It's not quite as big as the big flagship that we built right back at the beginning, but it is still a fairly large and sizable ship. I really like this one. I was really happy with the way this one turned out. And then we have the one which we have been working on here on the video earlier. We can see that one coming up here, but since we did all the video recording for that one as well, I haven't yet got into the interior of that, but we have built another 2 ships just behind here, so that's also adding a bit more to our fort here. So we've got these ones are a little bit smaller again. There's one there, and then even smaller again, this smaller little brig there that's got only a couple of small sails on there, and I still haven't done the rigging on that one, so that's still got to be done on that one, so it's not quite finished, some of these as well. But if we come over to here, and if we jump out of our boat here, hop over, you can also see that we've done the fortification down the front here. We've added a few more sort of light lanterns down on the piers, but these fortifications have been done as well. So we now have all these cannons here, all lining up across multiple floors. And we go out here and we come down the front here, and you can see all the cannons here are ready to defend the bay with our ships all in the dock there as well. This is coming on nice. If you remember at the beginning of the last episode, this entire area was just literally just landscape, and there was only pretty much the village breeder at the top there. And now look at the place. It is come along very, very nicely. It's come along very far, and I'm very happy with where the progress has gone in just a week. In fact, we're getting to the point now where I can nearly start working on the cathedral district, which I'm really excited to be able to start working on as well with you guys over the next couple of episodes. Hopefully we'll get to catch up with some of those as well. And that, I'm afraid, is probably all we got time for on this one. I'm sorry that it is such a short episode and it's been running a little bit late, but unfortunately, as I said, I haven't been greatly well this week, and my voice has been suffering a bit. Thankfully, it's getting better, and hopefully we'll be a bit more on time next week with these episodes. I also got some plans for some tutorials as well, so keep an eye out for those. But for the time being, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, if you have enjoyed this or enjoyed any of the episodes, drop us a like below, come and subscribe to the channel, and also come and pop over and see us on stream sometime as well. It'd be great to see you. In the meantime, take care all. Bye.